What is up, hand tire racing fam? And in today's video, we are going to do a more in-depth install on the s550 Fun Haver angle kit. Fortunately, our buddy from Jackson Performance US Strip Circuit, Alex, is going to let us use his car. He ordered the Fun Haver angle kit and he asked me to install it. I said sure, if I could shoot a video out of it. So here we are. So we're going to go into a deep dive on how to install the angle kit, including bolt sizes and the whole nine, alignment specs ish, the whole nine. Unfortunately, since we don't have our own place to work, Ray has been fortunate enough to let us use his garage to do this install. So we're gonna get right into it. First thing we're gonna do is get the bumper off, basically prep the car to get work done to it, get it up on jack stands, the whole.
Now that the bumper's off, we're going to get this thing jacked up and on jack stands.
Alright, so now that we've got the car up in the air on jack stands safely, or a lift if you have one. We don't have one today, so we're going to be doing it on jack stands. We're going to get the wheels off and then we're going to start ripping into this thing. So the next thing you're going to want to do is take off the brake caliper, which is a 15 millimeter, and a wrench is the best thing that you can get in there. The impact's kind of too big, so a wrench is the best way to go. And these bolts are on the back side here. Alex will show you. It's this bolt here and then this bolt here down at the bottom. Those are the two 15s that you're going to want to take off. Alright, you can set. Alright, so once you got the brake caliper removed from the knuckle with these two bolts here, I just like to zip tie these up to the subframe to hold them so you're not putting any significant pressure or force on these lines, so you don't rip them and you don't have a brake fluid leak. So that's how I do that. And then we'll move to the other side and get the other brake caliper the same exact. So we got the brake calipers all zip tied up in a safe place to where there's no stress on the lines. So basically these fender liners pretty much have to go. I don't see any way they stay, especially on 19s. I can't run them on 18s, so we're not even going to attempt that. So Alex is working on taking off all the push-in clips to get the fender liner completely removed, because we don't need that where we're going. And then we're going to start working on the this double pivot McPherson setup that Ford came with, and get the new Fun Haver goodies on there. Yo, I want you guys to see something, right? And this is no knock on whoever the fuck installed these coilovers or adjusted them, but I can reassure you, if there is that much gap between the top of your spring and the top of your coil bearing, you are doing something wrong.
I have a solution. There are spacers on the bottom.
Look at that. That is not proper. That is not what.
Oh, that.
Hey, my shit's making noise.
Well, this doesn't make noise.
Bullshit, it
The
don't.
rear doesn't. The rear does.
Yeah, sure. That is.
The front end never leaves the ground.
Guys.
You know, so at full.
That does not work, so we're gonna have to change that. All right, guys. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the sway bar in links off, and that's so that everything can rotate freely. These sway bar in links are super short. They're connected to the strut, so they do create binding. That's why the Fun Haver kit relocates the sway bar in link to the lower control arm, which is a very good design. So you're gonna need a 19 at least. I'm gonna try it with the impact first, but if the sway bar in link ball joint starts spinning around, I will have to get a wrench and a 5mm Allen key to get it off. But we're gonna try with the impact first and see what it does.
Cobalt, baby.
I'm a legend.
Or it's just the fact that I probably didn't tighten them down as far as we should.
No, they were pretty tight.
Going with the theme of everything today so far.
And this is the bolt that we're taking off for the sway bar in link. So we're gonna try again with the impact on this side. We got the other side off. It seems like it's spinning. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the sway bar in link and try to like basically make it self-bind to where the nut comes off. And I lost that battle, so we're gonna have to get an Allen key and a wrench. So, as you can see, we couldn't get that sway bar in link off with just the impact, so we're gonna use a 19 wrench and a 6mm Allen key to finish removing the sway bar in link. We'll just stick that in there like that. Oh wait, this first, and then this. Can't turn it. All right, we're gonna have to make some adjustments. Now we're gonna get the other end of the sway bar in link off, because these are not being used anymore, whether they're OEM or whatever coilover manufacturer provided them. They have to come off because the Fun Haver kit, it relocates the sway bar in link to the control arm, which is a better design. So we're just gonna use the same tools that we were using to get the top off to get the bottom off. I think that's loose enough for me to do by hand now. And then that comes out and we are done with these guys. All right, so the next thing that I like to do personally is get the tie rod ends disconnected. That's just so that I can twist the knuckle at whichever angle I want to get to the bolts that I need to get to. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna try with the impact. And it works perfect.
And that's an 18.
And I know I'm gonna have to hit this with the hammer, so I just thread it on there just a tiny bit, like that. Because I'm gonna come back to that with the 4-pound mini sledge.
The whole point in putting the nut back on top is to save the threads. So whenever you're smashing down on the top of here with the hammer, it doesn't mushroom the top of it. You can actually get it out of the knuckle.
So we're just gonna give this a couple of light taps with our 4-pound mini sledge, courtesy of Harbor Freight. Almost lost that one. There we go. Now I'll just loosen it up a little more. There we go. Now that's off. We can rotate freely on this side.
Unscrewed itself there.
All right, and since we've taken this out, we're gonna have to put an adjustable here on the flat portion of the outer tie rod. I like to use adjustables for these, simply because finding the right wrench can just take a while. And then I'm going to push down on the one that's on the outer, and then I'm gonna twist this nut to the right. Woo!
That one was on there.
Yeah, she was. So now that we've got that, we can just take our old outer off. We don't need that where we're going.
The Fun Kiver kit does Fun Haver kit comes with new
outer tie rods that are adjustable.
They're adjustable. Use a Heim on the knuckle adapter. Yeah. A little bit better for drifting.
So that's how we get this OEM outer off. We don't need these anymore. You can keep them as spares to drive home if you daily drive or street drive your car to the track. I doubt anybody would want to buy these because they're probably super cheap out of Riley's. So you can either keep them or toss them. I toss them because they're super cheap out of Riley's.
Now this is probably an issue you guys may run into on your vehicles. This jam nut is actually really tight on there, so what we're going to do is heat that up and kind of burn off some of the corrosion and let it break loose a little bit easier.
There we go.
Look at that.
Now watch out because that is hot, so I'm gonna get this thing a few things back off, and then yeah, we're still good up here. It's not that hot. So we'll just twist this other outer off, and then next we'll work on the lower control arm. And then once we get all that off, we'll probably end up taking the knuckle all the way off the car so that we can mount our knuckle adapter, and probably get this dust shield off. I don't know if it's necessary to pull this dust shield off, but it's a drift car. If you're putting the single kit on your drift car, I recommend just pulling the dust shield off. It's one less thing to get in the way when you either, I don't know if you're comp driving or whatever, but if you ever have to fix something, it's one less thing that's in your way. So I recommend just removing it, especially on a dedicated drift car. Don't let this distract you from the fact that Hector just came into Harry's, ordered 3 turbos, and a bunch of other shit. Alright, so now that we got the, for lack of a better term, front facing control arm out of the knuckle, which is eliminated. This is no longer existent on the Fun Haver kit. We're going to use our 24 and our 1/2 inch ratchet to get this bolt out.
Generally, we would use the impact for that guy, but the washer fluid tank is in the way, so hand tools it is.
And we're gonna reuse these bolts, so make sure you keep these in their proper orientation. I like to just kind of stick them in there until I'm ready to install the new control arm. So that's garbage. We don't need that anymore. And then the next thing we're going to work on, which is the same size, 21, is the rearward facing lower control arm, for lack of a better term. Don't ever do this right there, but we're going to try it. Let's get that back on there.
Yeah, I never accepted checks.
A little bit of persuasion always gets them out.
I mean, now like me, but trying to drive one, I'll do it. Yeah, I was there. I was not on yeah. Those I collect the checks for. Because those are decent ones.
Can you push down on the controller? I'll hold this up.
You need the persuasion?
There we go. That seems free.
Yep, she's free.
So now, obviously, we know that we have a coil bearing and a camber bearing housing up top on the BCs, so this has plenty of movement, which is good. And then we're going to take, I want to say that's a 19. Is wrong?
21, I believe. That is the one downfall to using a bigger impact like this, is it will get stuck in this area. So you gotta have to kind of get it halfway out and then pull it out the rest of the way by hand. And just like that, it's off.
And pretty much most of our OEM suspension is off, other than the inner tie rod and I guess you can consider the sway bar and the knuckle OEM parts. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use I believe it's 24 on this side and 19 on this side, and we're going to actually get this whole knuckle assembly off of here because it's much easier to mount the knuckle adapter when the knuckle is off the car.
Yeah, the knuckle adapter, if you want to spin that real quick, Dave, it will use the factory...
It will not use the factory middle one.
Not the factory middle one, just the two
and
outsides with a through bolt style.
Front and back.
So, changes your pickup point for your tie rod in, and gives you more angle out of the car without having to cut anything or stuff like that.
Or replace. Or make it... Well, probably the next thing that we're going to address is...
the zero preload.
That is not good.
That is like negative 2 inches of preload.
So, yeah, we'll get that taken care of. Alright guys, so I was going to say actually what we're going to do now is remove these knuckle bolts, which is a 24 on this side and a 21 on the bolt side. You always want to loosen the nut side because these are actually kind of pressed in. You'll notice when we get them loose, we will have to hammer these out because they are pressed into these knuckles. That's how they work. They're like a press bolt, stretch bolt, whatever you want to call it. But I've realized first we have to get these ABS sensors off, or I'll be holding this thing up and Alex will be trying to pull the ABS sensor off, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to need 10 millimeter to get that ABS, or the wheel speed sensor technically off. It's an ABS sensor, essentially. And I just always like to put the bolts back in their respective spots so I don't forget where they go. And then now we'll move on to the 24 on this side, 21 on this side to get this knuckle off so we can mate that knuckle adapter to the knuckle.
Now you don't have to take the knuckle off the coilover. It just makes it way, way easier to put the adapter on if you have it all apart.
Gives you much more room to work. So I like to do it that way. It doesn't take very much to pull this knuckle off. It's only 2 bolts, so. So that one's loose. That one's loose. And now we will work on getting these bad boys off. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what time it is.
Time for some persuasion. There you go.
That one almost got away from me. That's one.
Yeah, better not find a chicken in my car. Oh, that's fine. It might jump in my car. The windows are down.
Cats are fucking disgusting. As you can see there, that's what I was talking about. The bolts are kind of pressed in. They're splined, for lack of a better term. So you just want to kind of wiggle this one out, and then the entire assembly is going to drop. Just kind of. There we go. And then the knuckle is all right, so we had to assemble the knuckle adapter to the furthermost part of the control arm. Nut goes inside there, clearly. 2 reducers, 1 on each side, and then you're basically ready for installation to the vehicle. Alright guys, so as I explained, it's recommended from Hand-Tight Racing anyways that you connect these knuckle adapters to the control arm first, and then we're going to work on this sway bar end-link next, and these are the bolts for it. Bolts and nuts. Ooh, see that catch? Can you see those numbers?
Kind of.
Focus it.
There you go.
So we're gonna assemble the sway bar end links. We're just gonna keep it loose, just kind of hand tight so it flops around. No pun intended. But
Now, whenever you're installing this, the gold Heim goes on the control arm.
Yeah.
And you won't have any reducers or anything on this Heim. It'll be a perfect fit, and then you have your reducers up here at the sway bar.
Yeah.
Alright, so for your control arm to subframe connections, you're going to have these reducers. And then you're
we already have them installed here.
Yeah.
They're already in this Heim.
And
Leave
then
your Heims loose.
you also have these spacers that will go on either side. There will obviously be a second spacer here. Like right there. And that's going to be for your control arm subframe connection.
Because there's a huge gap. So one's going to go here, like that, bolt, and then the other is going to go on the other side. So, kind of like this right here, and then you got the bolt. This is what I think. So, I'm going to put the front one in. Alex is going to line it up. There you go. And then I'm going to put the second one behind the second line, and then you should be good there. Lined up. There you go. That's the money. Oh, yeah. Just hit it with the impact a little bit. See what we're doing. I feel like we're lined up back there. Nope, it's not lined up. Try that right there. Hit it. Hit it. Perfect, perfect. I want you guys to see this. That's how the front side of your control arm should look. Not tightened up, obviously, but that's how it should look.
And then just to point out, the rear side of your subframe is still going to use the same reducers, but it's going to use a different spacer. It's actually a shorter spacer on either side. And opposed to the
we got no light.
opposed to the thick spacers back there.
So one there, and then one on the back side. That's how it should look. And then you'll take the small reducer and just slide it.
Gotta run that through the center first.
So you got your reducers in, and now you want your small spacers. You're gonna have one on each end. So this is gonna sit there. This bolt is the one for the back, so we're gonna lift it. Hold it just like that. This bolt comes in.
I got the arm if you want to do the spacer.
Oh no, Bo. Oh no, Bo. A small spacer there. And then push it in. In more. Hold on. Right there, right there, right there. Started. Then we need our second spacer right there for the back side, and we'll just pull this bolt out a little bit. Hold that up for me, Alex.
Yep, I got you.
Oh no, I didn't leave myself enough space. Pause. Alright, so as you can see, we got our two big reducers up front. These black guys are spacers. Same reducers front and back, but smaller spacers. You can see the small black spacer in between there. We've already got everything lined up. It did take a little bit of finagling, but we got it. So no worries there.
The best idea, don't tighten anything yet. Get it all mocked up first, and then tighten it down.
And make sure that your inner tie rod is running between this control arm, because if not, you have a big problem. All right, so we've got rid of all the excess play in the spring. These are actually 12Ks. Told me they were 10s. 12 will work though. So what we're gonna do is, now that we've gotten rid of all the excess play, we're gonna turn this lower spring seat lock ring until we can fit this spanner wrench between the middle lock ring and the upper lock ring. So
I'd say the last 10% is going to be aligned. Is this thing having like caster adjustment at all, or no? It's where it sits.
no, it has caster adjustment.
Yeah, caster adjustments right there at the control arm.
So that's our 4 millimeters of preload right there. As you can see, my spanner wrench will fit between the two lock rings. So we're just gonna run this guy up, and then I'm gonna take this spanner wrench, hold this like this, take this lock ring, and then just kind of twist them together.
Yeah, I never got the combo. It's like Sunny D was
We're
like
kind of like
No play there.
yeah.
It still rotates freely.
A little bit of bazooka.
So
And
we're
that's
gonna-
how you set preload on
Right.
the
No,
coil.
there's a berry one now that's actually like twin signal.
Oh, these are out parts.
Alright, so we're gonna red Loctite everything.
All the things.
Just because we like to.
Blush ice.
And then I've never used gel, so I'm doing this just because I want to. And then I'm gonna shove that in the knuckle adapter. Big bolt, big washer goes on the back side of the knuckle adapter. Little bolt, little washer goes on the front side of the knuckle adapter. Alright, so we found a nut that fit the outer tie rod bolt that we were provided with. We've removed the ABS sensors completely. So the next thing that we're gonna do, or that I'm gonna do anyways, the way that I do it, is I'm gonna tighten the bottom bolt to the sway bar inlay. Then I'm gonna tighten this jam nut. I'm gonna get everything tight between here, and then I'm gonna tighten the jam nuts, just because that's the way I like to do things. So I'm gonna tighten this guy, and then I'm gonna tighten this, and then we're gonna start working on the reassembly of these knuckle bolts and the brake rotor, or the brake caliper and the rotor, and then we'll do our toe and go. So we're gonna work on that, and then we'll see you guys on the other side of that. Alright guys, so we have everything connected. Obviously you can see this is a what I would like to refer to as a metric fuck ton of toe in. I'm not even gonna worry about aligning this until I get this car at a set ride height to where I think it's gonna be fine. As you can see, this thing was set to like dummy low, and as you know by now, there was like negative, I don't know, 3 inches of preload. That's the best way I can describe it. So we're gonna raise this thing up at least 2 inches, because this is a drop knuckle of about 1.5 inches, 38 millimeters. So I'm gonna raise this thing up 2 inches, and then I hope that that is our last setting, because if not, me and Alex are gonna be sitting here for a long time trying to toe and go this thing. So I'm just gonna do this until we get to our preferred ride height. Alright guys, so we've just raised this up about 2 inches, and we're still at -7 degrees of camber. So we're definitely gonna have to pull these guys down and make some adjustments from the camber mount, or the camber plate in the front. Once we figure out our height and our overall, I guess you can call it static camber, we will then adjust accordingly from the upper mount, the upper camber mount, and then we'll do our toe. So it's been a long journey, but we're almost there. I'm feeling good about this one. All right, Alex, what happened there?
What happened where?
There.
There?
Yeah.
Kit done.
Kit done.
Alex tired. Alex go home.
Davey tired. Davey go home.
Excited.
Alex excited.
Davey drunk, and Davey go home.
Alex excited.
Both Alex excited.
Alex not drunk.
This
but
is
he's
Alex
drunk.
excite.
Alex is a bumper on.
We did we didn't even use the toe plates, but I mean, it looks pretty fucking gnar. So we'll take that, and if additional adjustments need to be made, let's not do that yet. Let's get it off the jack stands. But I think it looks great. Everything is red Loctite down there. Fun Haver kit installed, and it's gonna be fucking minty. Got a little bit of rear camber there that needs to be adjusted, but just a little private day, so don't nobody need to be fast here. How you feeling about that shit?
Pretty fucking excited right now.
Yeah?
I'll rip it tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah?
I'll send you the videos tomorrow. Don't
Bet. This thing's gonna rip. Obviously, we got that monster truck fitment. But this thing's gonna be sick. So we're pretty much done. This thing, it's gonna drive 100% better than it did. It's got, if Alex would fucking move his big fat fucking bubble butt out of the way. We got a little bit of toe out there. Obviously it's much wider than it was. Everybody's putting the bumper back on now. Got a little bit of toe out there. Wheels pretty much straight. I mean, if you can install this kit from this video, then maybe you just shouldn't be working on cars. That's just me personally though. But we got everything installed and tight. That's red Loctite. Everything's pretty much red Loctite. Yeah, it looks fantastic. This is on a 19-inch wheel. That's how it should look. So